Now to my exclusive interview with the new Irish Prime Minister Enda Kenny. He's in the United States for the annual St. Patrick's Day White House visit, and he says he wants to repair Ireland's reputation. It's been damaged by his country's deep financial crisis. Kenny became Prime Minister just last week after campaigning on a promise to renegotiate the EU-IMF rescue package, and he's rejecting calls from other European leaders that he should hike the 12.5% corporate tax, the lowest in the developed world. I spoke to him yesterday in Washington.
What I hope to say to America is that Ireland is open for business. What I hope to say to America is that we want to rebuild the connections between our two countries, restore Ireland's reputation, which has been damaged somewhat around the world in recent times, and to say to American business that our fundamental attraction from a tax perspective of a 12.5% corporation tax rate remains intact and will remain intact. We want no ambiguity and no lack of clarity about that.
You mentioned the corporate tax rate, 12.5%, big part of the attraction to do business in Ireland. So it's not negotiable, it's staying there. The EU rate is about 23%. Are you open to any negotiation to still have a corporate tax rate that's low, but perhaps higher than 12.5%?
No. Tax is a matter of national competence within the European Union. That's actually solidified in the Lisbon Treaty, which was voted on by the people of Ireland, and who were reminded by no less a person than President Sarkozy himself.
You said you had a bit of a Gallic spat? Was that what you called it with him?
I expressed my view very clearly against what the French president was saying. And in that sense, if there were to be a debate at all about tax rates, it should be about the transparency of the rate. Ireland's is very transparent, and the difference between the effective tax rate and the statutory tax rate insofar as corporate tax rates are concerned in Ireland is 0.6%, the lowest of any country in Europe.
President Sarkozy, in relation to this matter, asked that you give something. He was trying to link the question of the structure of the bailout that Ireland received, some 85 billion euros, to the corporate tax rate there. Do you think that's a fair linkage?
No, it's not. These two things are entirely separate. The corporate tax rate in Ireland, or any other country, has nothing to do with the IMF EU bailout deal. And my case to Europe was that the deal was put together for two purposes. One, to achieve debt sustainability. That is, that Ireland in this case could pay its way, and at the same time increase our economy and trade our way out of this particular problem. But the fact is that the penal rates that are being applied at 5.89% are too severe. But it's not correct to equate a conditionality of a reduction in interest rates with a condition that corporate tax rates be increased. They're entirely separate matters.
The head of the Eurogroup, Jean-Claude Juncker, said he thinks Ireland's being tortured by other governments in linking these two issues. Do you feel that way? Well,
Ireland's got great support from Europe over the years, and we have contributed to Europe. We have been strong supporters of every European referendum and treaty since the 1970s. Europe has a population of 500 million, enormous potential, and Ireland actually gave it the authority for its institutions to develop in the way they should, both from a Commission, Parliament and Council of Ministers point of view. So we've taken some pressure. That is true. Jean-Claude is a good friend of mine, and we're well able to stand up to that kind of challenge.
Pressure, not torture, is how you characterize that.
Clarity is what we want here, and flexibility. Ireland wants to pay its way. Ireland wants to live up to its responsibilities, and it will. But we need some flexibility from Europe to help us achieve that, and I expect that we will get that.
You asked Eurozone leaders, though, last week for this, and they did reduce the rate that Greece has on their aid package, but they said no to Ireland. Why do you think they did that?
Well, Greece is not in the EFSF package, right. And there was the approval of the principle of a reduction in the interest rates. The IMF from Washington here itself said that the interest rate in this package was too high, and that's been concluded in the agreement that countries within the EFSF package should have their rates reduced. Ireland's the only one in there, and I thought it quite unfair to expect a condition be attached to to that in respect of a raising of interest rates. Now let me make it clear, Ireland will always discuss constructively with our European colleagues the future of Europe. And in respect of the Competitiveness Pact, which is put forward by France and Germany, we're quite prepared to discuss that, but not the question of raising corporate tax rates or harmonisation of a common consolidated corporate tax base.
But when it comes to some of the Irish financial institutions, you are seeing in the marketplace worries still, that being priced in there. And you've seen from the ratings agencies them sending signs of worries as well about downgrading some of the covered bond programs. So do you see any risk of default?
Well, I'd like to see a situation where there's a distinction between our sovereign debt and our bank debt. Obviously, I've made the point on many occasions that I think it's grossly unfair to expect the taxpayer to have to pay 100% for the reckless lending practices of banks, which caused this in the first instance. And that's a matter for discussion between ourselves and the ECB and our European colleagues.
When it comes to international confidence in Ireland and the financial system, there's also the question of the status being given to bondholders, those financial stakeholders in all of this, right? So when it comes to the idea of imposing losses on bank bondholders, where do you stand on that question?
Well, we made our position clear on this. We believe that no further monies should go into banks beyond what's already committed, until you see the scale of what the liability is and until there's an understanding of how that burden might be shared.
Stress test, right?
Yes.